We hope that you enjoy today's sermon by our pastoral staff at Christ Point Church. We also want you to know that if you have any questions, prayer requests, or need information on any of our ministry opportunities, you can email us at www.info@christpoint.church. We love you, and we are praying that this will be the best year yet. Welcome home.
We've got them orphan spirits. So if the daughter-in-law, if the daughter-in-law represents society, if the daughters-in-law represents society, then I want you to notice something with me. Naomi she represents the godly. Think about it. She represents the connection to Judah. So if the daughters-in-law represent society, then notice something with me. Half of those following somebody. So see, you're going to lead somebody. I'm going to lead somebody. If we have the devil in us, we're going to lead somebody. So we're leading somebody one way or another. If you and I are trying our best to walk with the Lord, somebody's watching. Somebody's following in those same footsteps. So I want you to notice something. If this represents society, then half of the people following us will end up choosing little gods and go back to powerless gods. It's like, well, I just feel like a failure because I was able to invite people to church, and only 3 of them came, and only 3 of them stayed. And 3 of them are walking with the Lord now. Well, how many didn't? Well, 3 more. Statistically, it's right on. She couldn't even get her own daughter-in-law to stay. And she was the one telling her to go back. So, people will choose powerless little gods because it's what they're familiar with. All of us will do it. Half will choose powerless over total empowerment that they can't see. Half will choose powerless they can see over total empowerment that they can't see. In other words, I'm going to give, what's behind door number 3, right? Well, I'm just afraid to take a chance. I'm afraid to speak Jesus into my situation. Why are you afraid to speak Jesus? Because I'm afraid that I will be marked and labeled as some kind of weirdo, psycho Jesus freak. It's okay. They're going to call you something. Everybody's got a little label behind their name. Trust me. I'm not just Steve and Tina, the pastors. To some people, Steve and Tina, I hate them. Trust me, there are people. And then there's some people that Steve and Tina, she's pretty, he's not. Some people, Steve and Tina, he has to take Ritalin. I don't. But I did. I did my whole life, but right before my mama gave me my whipping. But notice, we will choose. We will choose what we know that is powerless because it's what we're familiar with over what we don't know that God's saying, I'm going to give you what's behind door number 3, but you got to open it. You got to believe for it. So anyway, but here's the question. What does Ruth have to do with our impossible journey? What's Ruth have to do with this impossibility? What's Ruth have to do with us getting to Jesus' birth? Next week, what does she have to do with that? Matthew chapter 1, verse 5 and 6. This is what we read last week. And Salmon, not the pink stuff in the can, remember? And Salmon, the father of Boaz by Rahab. And then, remember, Rahab was last week. And then Boaz, the father of Obed by Ruth. Bang, here we got Ruth. Ruth's in the picture now. And Obed, the father of Jesse, and Jesse, the father of David the king. And through David the king, the line of the tribe of Judah. Jesus. So, did you catch it? She's in there, guys. Ruth is in there. So who is Ruth? What's the big deal that she lands in the genealogy of Jesus? So what's the big deal? Well, for one thing, women didn't get mentioned a lot. A lot of them didn't even have names. They were just so-and-so's wife. So we didn't see women get esteemed very often at all in the Bible. So, but we have some here, Rahab, Naomi, Ruth. We have some of them mentioned right in one sequence. So, Naomi and her husband, if we break this whole thing down, and we don't have time, Naomi and her husband decided they were going to go on a trip. Tina and I do that a lot. We're going to go on a trip. So they left to go on a trip, and they just, hey, we'll go explore. I don't know what they were doing, but they end up somewhere. They have 2 sons and those two sons married two local women. Now, we already found out they're not Jewish young ladies. So we know that they went somewhere. So let's find out where they went. Ruth chapter 1, verse 4. These sons, these took Moabite wives. The name of the one was Orpah, not Oprah. And the name of the other was Ruth. And they lived about 10 years in that land. Now, let's just think about this just a minute. Okay, so we find out that Ruth is a Moabite. Okay, so let's just look at her family tree. I mean, we're from the south. Some of them don't have a lot of limbs. So ain't funny, is it, sis? So let's just look at the family tree. Let's look at the family tree. I want you to place yourself Christmas, whatever, with your family. Every one of you got a cousin Eddie in there. Every one of you got the one you haven't seen him in about 16 years because he just don't come out. He just don't do anything. All of a sudden, I mean, and we always got about 2 or 3 of them. Those ladies, I mean, they're just wide open. So I mean, it's like you think your family tree's messed up. You think you got some crazy family dynamic. Let's just look at Jesus' family tree. Inside Jesus' lineage, we're just going to go right down and we're going to look at the tree. There's a pagan woman who was a prostitute right in the middle of it. It's like, okay. And then a little ways up from there, now we have a Moabite. So we got a Moabite woman and a pagan woman and a prostitute who was a prostitute. So we've got some cool stuff. It is very interesting to read. This is stuff that you watch on YouTube, guys. It's like, you used to watch it. So, but let's just wait a minute. Wait, Pastor. This is what you said, though. You said, and you read, I didn't say it, but you read that in Deuteronomy chapter 3, no Moabite could ever be accepted. Never be included into the family of God, into the fellowship of believers. It couldn't happen. So no Moabite how'd she get in there? That's what I want to know, how she got in there. So notice this is the reason. The Moabite people rejected God's people. So therefore, the Moabite people rejected God. So let's just look at this. This is a Moabite spirit. The Moabite spirit rejects God. Rejects anything that comes out of his people's mouths. This is a Moabite spirit. Every person that refuses Jesus today, they have a Moabite spirit on them, guys. I mean, we're talking to a Moabite spirit that is on somebody. They are, I mean, it's that rejection of the Lord. Trust me, I had a Moabite spirit on me one time. You know what? I never forget, I told somebody, hey, whoa. Why don't you keep your Jesus talk to yourself, and we'll get along just fine. I don't want to hear about your Jesus. You better watch you say that. You'll be on the platform preaching. So I'm like, okay, Lord, wow, it's awesome. So it's the spirit that is on us that rejects Christ. So it is impossible for a rejecter of Christ, a Moabite spirit, to have access to Jesus. Now think about that. It is impossible for one of us to be able to have access to Jesus, but wait a minute. How did she get in there? I think God made a point to put a Moabite woman in there so all of us could see that we can fit. I made a point to put the very ones that I said couldn't fit, but I made them did fit. So there is a big unless. Here's an unless. It's impossible for a rejecter and a Moabite spirit that someone has upon them that rejects Jesus to be accepted into a body of believers unless a certain protocol has been followed, and that protocol is found a lot of places, but we're just going to break it down in the book of Ruth, those first 2 chapters. Let's just call it 5 entry steps. We'll call it 5 entry steps of protocol. This is, do you realize also that 5 is the number of grace? So let's look at these 5. Let's look at these. So 5. Step number 1, protocol. Verse 7. So she went, she sent out from the place where she was with her 2 daughters-in-law, and they went on the way to return to the land of Judah. Okay, so here's, how do I get myself accepted? Because there's not one righteous, no, not one. Romans tells us that. The book of Romans, Paul tells us that. So there's not one righteous, no, not one. So how do I get in this good-looking fit? Well, number 1 is I got to change my focus, because I can't focus here and be committed here. So I got to change my focus. So in other words, this is what Naomi was saying. I want you to go back where you could find a husband. And this is what the one daughter-in-law said. Well, okay, all right. But Ruth said, I don't care. I don't ever need a husband again. I see something in you that I have never seen in my life. And it would have never worked if Ruth had followed Naomi like this. Boy, I sure wish I was back there. I sure wish I had that little wooden god again. I sure wish I could do some kind of pagan ritual again. She couldn't think that she had to change her focus. We have to set our focus toward righteousness. If we can't see God in the place that we are, some of us, look, I'm telling you, some people that you and I will talk to, they just can't see God where they are. I mean, they just can't see. I just can't see. I can't see the end. I can't see the resolve. I can't see the fruition. I just can't see it. I don't know what to do. But look at me. I'm going to show you. Follow me. See, the thing is, if you can't see and I can't see God where I am, then I better focus on somebody who is seeing Him. So she focused on somebody who is seeing Him. Step number 2, protocol. Self-awareness. Straight up self-awareness. Now, here's the thing. Let's read 16 and 17. But Ruth said, don't tempt me. Don't urge me. Don't make me do this to return from following you. For where you go, I'll go. Where you lodge, I'll lodge. We read it. Where you die, I'll die. I'm going to be buried. Your God will be my God. So, we have to start realizing that where we are isn't where we need to be. So, first of all, we got to change our focus. Then we got to realize that I need to be self-aware. I can't keep walking in the same direction. I can't keep looking back. I've got to be focused on the Lord, and I've got to be self-aware enough to see what it looks like. So, self-awareness, step number 3. Verses 16 and 17 again. Just keep chasing. Keep chasing. Sometimes, it's like, well, I came to the Lord. I was praying, seeking the Lord. But the 3 warrants I have against me didn't go away. Why? Because we have to process this out. You know what? In time, you're going to get on the other side of that. And you know what's going to happen on the other side of that? You look back and you saw that you kept chasing after righteousness. You kept chasing after God. I mean, look, it's not going away tomorrow. I've been there at the verge of a nervous breakdown. I'll never forget, had a million projects to do. These are all people that hired us to do stuff. Had about 10, 12, 14 weeks behind on work. And I remember I was about to freak out. I was just freaking out. My wife had no sympathy on me whatsoever. She went on to church, left me there just crying, whining by myself. And so I went to church. I went straight to the altar, and I just abandoned it. Lord, I can't do this. I mean, I can't keep doing this. I got up, and absolutely nothing changed, but it didn't control me anymore. I was fine. I don't even remember the day that I said, I've got on the other side of that now. I'm completely on the other side of it. I just remember God processed it out, and I didn't have to worry about it anymore. So, step number 3, just keep chasing God. No matter who tries to persuade you, keep chasing God. Keep chasing after righteousness. No matter if we can't see God where we are, keep chasing Him. No matter if we try our best to refocus on something of the past. See, we're really bad to look back after a few minutes, after a little while, after a few steps. Even Naomi, the godly, God used her to put a test up on them, and they failed it. Even Naomi said, you need to go back. Because Naomi was reasoning in the practical. I can't give you a son. I can't give you a husband. I can't give you anybody that will ever make you any more than a widow. And so it made sense to the one daughter-in-law, and she went back, and Ruth's like, no stinking way. I am going where you go. Because I know that one thing, if it never happens for me, at least I can know Jesus or know the Lord. So, but even with all that, Ruth's still a Moabite, guys. She's still a disqualified and lost soul. The only way to get from disqualified to qualified is by redemption, or we may even call it grace today. So this is the only way to get there. In other words, you got to know a guy. Got to know a guy. You know, it's like, hey, where'd you get those cool wheels on your truck? I know a guy. Hook you right up. Sometimes we just got to know a guy. Ruth chapter 2, verse 1. Now Naomi had a relative of her husband's, and his name was Elimelech. So a worthy man of the clan of Elimelech, and this guy's name was Boaz. So now we find out that somebody can qualify her. Somebody can pay the price. So Ruth chapter 2, let's go to step number 4, verses 8 and 9. Ruth chapter 2, verse 8 and 9. Number 1, there's not a better option, guys. There's not a better option. So stay connected. We just dove in on Wednesday night to John chapter 15, where Jesus says to us over and over and over and over and over, stay connected. Don't get disconnected. Number 1 priority, stay connected. So, verse 8, then Boaz said to Ruth, now listen, my daughter. Speaking to Ruth, and I'm the man. I'm speaking to the woman. Now listen, do not go and glean in another field. Don't go anywhere else. You have no business going anywhere else. I'm already telling you, I'm taking care of you. Don't leave this field, but keep your eyes close to my young women. In other words, follow people who know how to follow me. These people are committed to me. They will teach you in the right way. You need to learn. You need to learn the protocol of Christ, so to speak. So you need to learn our culture. So I want you to watch them, follow them, stay in this field. Don't go somewhere else. I don't know what these other people are going to teach you. Stay focused right here, because you know what? I've already got a connection. You and I have a connection. Verse 9. Let your eyes be on the field that you are reaping, and go after them. Have I not charged the young men not to touch you? When you're thirsty, I'll let you drink. You know what? I mean, it's like, look, I'm taking care of you. So, step number 4 in this protocol, stay connected. Stay connected. Boaz represents Jesus. The law says that you and I are doomed. We're disqualified because we were born with a Moabite spirit. Jesus says, stick around, get in the right field. You say, what does that mean? Does that mean church? I don't care what you make. You know what? Do I believe in Christ Point Church? Oh, heck to the yeah, I do. So stay connected, because I don't know anybody. I know a few pastors. But you know what? Stay connected. Don't try to find help or counterfeit grace somewhere else. See, counterfeit grace looks good in the very first, when you're gleaning behind the harvesters. In this field, I'm only going to glean a basket. And that other field, I'm going to glean 12 baskets, or say 10. So I'm going to go glean 10 baskets. You know, it's tempting to go to the other field. That's counterfeit grace. Stay right here, because I'm going to take care of you forever. So our redemption depends on whose field we place ourselves in. Jesus is the only qualified redeemer. Don't stop moving toward him. Step number 5. Somebody has to redeem the impossible. So, verse 10. Ruth chapter 4, verse 10. Also Ruth the Moabite, the widow of Mahlon, I have bought to be my wife. Boaz went and redeemed her. Hey, you and I are connected. You and I are connected. I'm not going to let you do this. So he marries a Moabite woman. It is impossible for someone with a Moabite spirit on them to be included or accepted into heaven unless they are redeemed. This This is the way that it can happen. How is this accomplished? Let me show you something. Exodus chapter 13, verses 12 and 13. Every firstborn that comes from an animal which you have, the male shall be the Lord's, but the firstborn of a donkey you shall redeem with a lamb. Now we're going to break this down real fast. If you will not redeem it, then you shall break its neck. All the firstborn of a man among you, your son shall be redeemed, or you shall redeem. In other words, the unclean cannot clean themselves. You and I are unclean. So donkeys are unclean. They can't clean themselves. So the only way to redeem a donkey is with the sacrifice of a lamb. So they have to be redeemed with something that is deemed clean. So you and I, the only way that we can get this Moabite spirit off of us is to have someone pay the price that we can't pay. Because God said that we're unclean. We're born that way. What do I do a chant or a dance or anything? No. We need to accept Jesus. That if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you shall be saved. That's my Redeemer. That's one that's paying a price that I can't pay. Because you know why? Because I am unclean, born that way. I have a Moabite spirit, so to speak, on me, and he is not. So the only way it can happen is if Jesus gives himself for me. So that's a big task. See, it's impossible for you and I to ever be clean enough. See, good is good enough. No, it's not. I can't good my way into heaven. It's not going to happen. Righteous, I can't be righteous enough. I can't be good enough to make it to heaven. Jesus has to become our Redeemer. So let's notice something in Ruth chapter 10 as we're landing the plane. I want you to notice something with me. Ruth chapter 10. This is where we all are at some point in time. Why me? Why me, Lord? Why have I found favor in your eyes that you should take notice of me since I am a foreigner? Why? I mean, think about it. Why, Lord? I mean, trust me. Believe me when I say this. I have asked the Lord a bunch of times. Lord, you picked me? I appreciate it. I don't get it, but I appreciate it. You know, I mean, we have asked this question, all of us. Why would the Lord give himself and give his life for me? You know, I've told this story, bless her heart. Man, this lady, a friend of ours, she lives in Florida now, is doing so well. We were going to go out of town. It was after service. It's been a long time ago. We were going to go out of town. Let's just get out of town for a couple of days. We pull in our driveway. We literally just threw clothes in a bag, and she's in our driveway. I mean, there is no drunk like this lady. She's completely history. And she's sitting in the driveway. She can't even walk, and she's driven into our driveway. And, you know, my first reaction was, I wanted to go. And so we started talking to her, and Tina was on the driver's side, and as she got her attention, I reached over, put the car in park, and took the keys out. So I knew, number one, she couldn't pull off now, and I put the keys in my pocket, and we spent, I know, several hours with her. Several hours just trying to just figure something out. And everything that came out of her mouth is, why would God love somebody like me? She had got to a place to where, God, look at what I've done to my life. God has no business whatsoever loving me. Well, number one, it's not my job to tell God what his business is, no matter how I feel about myself. And I'll never forget, we took her to her son's house finally and helped her in, helped her get in the house, and then, you know, felt like she was okay and safe, and we took off. And I'll never forget calling Clean Hearts. I said, what do I need to do? You don't do anything. If she doesn't come to us, you can't want it for her worse than she wants it for herself. You're wasting your time. And I'm like, I want you to help me. You know, but I learned something that day. She didn't know where to go, guys. She came to the only people she knew that wouldn't. I can come to them drunk. I can come to them in my worst place, and they will still point me to Jesus. And that's all she knew. That's all she could find out. That's all she. And why me? Why would? And we would keep telling her, "You don't understand how much the Lord loves you. But this is destructive. You can't keep doing this." But why would He love somebody like me? I want you to know, she went somewhere. Well, I don't know, rehab or whatever. But anyway, she's been living in Florida ever since. Right after that, contacts us ever so often and says, "I have not touched any." I mean, just doing so well. But you know what? Did we have a part in that? Yeah, we had a little part in that. But I can promise you this much: the only part we played is to let her know that Jesus still loved her, because she had to bring brokenness to Him. I couldn't bring her brokenness to Him. So, Ruth can't understand why someone like Boaz, who represents Jesus, why would you care for me? Why would you take the time on someone like me? I'm a foreigner. In other words, break that down. I am completely disqualified. I can never be. I mean, I'm a waste of time. There's nothing that I could add. I mean, you're going to get a bad name just by associating with me. Because if you're willing to leave who you used to be and the gods that you used to serve, and you're willing to come to me, then I'll pay the price that you can't pay so that you can be where I am. So when we look at the Lord, do we say, "I don't understand"? You can't. You just can't understand. But you can accept it. See, for you and I to get into heaven, it would be impossible. Can't happen. Impossible to enter, but not impossible to be redeemed. Not at all impossible to be redeemed. So I want to ask you this. This is Christmas, guys. We've been on an impossible journey. And we just looked at an impossible situation that was made possible through grace, through redemption. We saw it. It was made possible. And this is what I want to challenge you. How impossible is your life? How impossible is your situation? How impossible does it look? How impossible is that child that won't come to the Lord? How impossible is that relationship that cannot be figured out? How impossible is it that I got something wrong with me? This is how impossible it is. Why, Lord? Why would you choose me? Because you can't do it by yourself. It's impossible. So I'm going to do it for you. Hey, thank you for tuning in today. Thank you for spending some time with us in service at Christ Point Church. And just wanting you to know that we love you guys, and you are an important part of Christ Point Church. If you're disconnected or in another state, or you want more updates, please visit us on our website. You can email us at info@christpoint.church. And if you want to know how to give, we have a text to give. You can see it flashing right now. Also, you can give on the app. A lot of people are asking about that. So we just want you to know that you are a vital and important part of Christ Point Church. Now, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for spending some time with us online and on TV. We are real people, living real lives, serving a real God. Welcome home.